Hey guys, get ready with me while I'll tell you a story time. By the way, if you have any story times you would like me to say in my next Get Ready With Me, DM my Instagram or my TikTok. Okay, so I had this really weird PE teacher, and he would always tell all the girls, I would love if you would wear Nike Pros to our PE sessions. Obviously, me and my friends didn't think much about it because it was in year 8. But he specifically said to me and my friends about it. So, yeah. He kept saying it once a term, so my friend reported it to the school. So none of the teachers did anything about it, and it just got forgotten about. At this point, we're in year 10, I think, and he brings it up as well again. So me and my friends are like, what the hell is this guy doing? So in PE, one lesson, my friend had a hole in her pants, in her leggings, sorry, and he was nurse and he spotted it out. So me and my friends got kind of creeped out, and we asked why he's mentioning it. And we also said, why are you looking down there? And he went, are you calling me a nonce? We said yeah, and we ran off. The next day we found out he got us in trouble for saying that. By the way, this is the Rimmel London concealer. You can get it in Boots, because all my labs are asking. It's in the shade 40 Ivory. So anyways, he got us in trouble, and we were in this isolation the next day, me and my friends. Not all of us, because they can't do it all at the same time. So cool. In isolation, we got put with him. He specifically asked that he will look after us. And his role in school was to be a PE teacher and to also take out people from their lesson that got reported by their teachers a few times. So he made us walk around in school with him, collecting kids. So that was fine. I would rather walk around school than be in lesson. But the next day, we had PE with him again. So cool, me and my friends are fresh start. We don't want to get in trouble with this annoying teacher again. So we just go to our lesson. And there's rooms where they keep all the equipment for PE. He asked us to go in there and get some stuff, so we did. And we took a bit too long, so he came inside as well. And he literally said, only if you two were older. Me and my friend looked at each other and we're convinced right now that he's a fucking pedophile. So once we get out that room, we keep talking about it and telling our friends in PE, trying to whisper it. And then after that lesson, my friend reported it again. At this point, I don't know if it was my friend telling her parents and then her parents reporting, or it was actually her, but it was so bad. Yeah, I'm gonna do my concealer again. So cool. This was on a Friday, so the next Monday we have a PE again, and he's nowhere to be seen. This guy got kicked out after 3 years of us reporting it to school. Finally. And the worst thing about it was we went to the head teacher, and they said that they got reports as well from other years, younger and older. So yeah, I'm just grateful that he finally got kicked out. I haven't had time to finish my mascara, so I'm just going to use this telescopic lift and I'll be back. The new mascara, look at that brush. But yeah guys, I'm all done now.
Get ready with me while I tell you guys a story about how I got into one of the biggest fights in my high school. Everyone in my school was anticipating this fight. It was bound to happen. I'm gonna give you guys a quick backstory on what actually led up to the fight. Our groups had not liked each other for years. This all started in year 8, and I have proof, I have evidence. I came with the receipts, I came with facts, okay? So in case anyone tries to lie, yeah, try lie about that. There was this group of girls, I'm gonna call them the decompressed minions, okay? Because they were tiny, they were small as hell, and they looked decompressed. These girls were what you would call, I guess, mean girls in school. They were bullies, they were horrible to everyone. There was 4 of them. It was 2 of them that were the worst. They were the leaders of the group, and the rest of the group were just the followers. Oh, they were the few white people in that school, I have to say it because it's important to the story. My school was mainly Asian and black. In year 8, these girls posted a video of them singing Cardi B's song, Bodak Yellow, and they recorded themselves singing, and they said the N-word. Me being me, I call out what's wrong, and I messaged them about it, and I told them they shouldn't be saying that. That's not a word for them to say. I'm gonna post the screenshot, okay? I'm gonna put the screenshot right here, okay? You guys can read the message, whatever. There was multiple messages exchanged between us, but this was the most significant. They wanted to fight me because I called them out. They were fighting so hard to be able to say the N-word, and I was just not having any of it. I had become friends with these group of girls. I absolutely loved them. The Decompressed Minions had their 4. And me and my girls, we had our 5. everyone in the school found out about the situation because obviously they saw the videos as well. No one just wanted to say anything. I was the only one that said something because for some reason everyone was scared of them. I don't know why, but everyone was scared of them. So when I got to school the next day, obviously they tried to fight me. I'm not fighting you guys based off the fact that you were racist. I'm just calling you out on the wrong things you did. I was literally asking them, why are you fighting so hard to say the N-word? Just apologize and keep it moving. It was me against all four of them. I didn't fight them. This is not the fight. This is just the build up to the story. We were arguing. We were going back and forth. I just left it at that. Fast forward a couple months. It was just a lot of like back and forth between my group and their groups, like dirty looks or like mumbling things under our breath. It wasn't really us on our part because our school, let me tell you guys something about our school, okay? Most of the teachers were white. Obviously, because the decompressed minions were white, the white teachers always defended them. Like, these girls, like, they were just awful. They would always pick on people, and the teachers would always defend them. They would never get in trouble. These girls got into multiple fights with people. They would literally pick on people. They would jump people. Fast forward a couple months, it's obvious that there's, like, animosity between us, and, like, it's obvious we don't like each other. Very tense. Whenever our groups came across each other, it was very, very tense. It was like a fight could break out at any moment. It's just that our group was holding back, and they would always do things to like get a reaction out of us, but we never gave in because we knew that's what they were trying to do. So we were like, it's not worth it at all. Let me tell you guys about one thing they did that I had to get involved in because I just could not sit back and watch. Let me give you guys names, okay? So obviously there's 4 girls in the decompressed minion group. One of them I'm gonna call her eyebrows. The other one I'm gonna call thin hair. The other one I'm gonna call prison because this girl acted like school was a prison, always starting with people. There was a girl in my year who started talking to a boy who was also in my year. Thin hair had previously spoken to that boy, and I guess she found out that the other girl was talking to him. And thin hair started picking on the other girl. And I saw this with my own eyes. There was a time we were in the canteen and I saw thin hair throwing stuff at the girl, like bottles, wrappers, stuff like that. They knew this girl was not going to stand up for herself. They knew she wasn't gonna say anything to them. So when I saw that, it got on my nerves. I moved away from my friends. I stood up and I went to go sit beside the girl they were picking on. As soon as I sat beside her, they stopped it, obviously, because they know better. They did that constantly to a lot of people. They would actually bully people. Like, they would physically hurt people. They would throw things. They would say things to people. Like, and they never, ever got in trouble for it, no matter how many times they got reported, because that school was racist. Obviously, they didn't like that I stood up for her. They didn't like that I got involved. They would say things to me like, why am I getting involved? Mind your business, da 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 da. Guys, you know I'm not gonna do that. Like, you guys are obviously picking on this girl for no reason, especially over a boy that you don't even want anymore. Like, what are you talking about? That caused them to not like me even more because I would stand up for people that they were bullying. Weirdos. See, they had their own issues with my friends as well, but I'm just talking based off my experience. I know I said this started all in year 8, but they had been doing stuff since year 7. As soon as I moved to that school, they never liked me. 7, there was a time where we were in lesson and I was in lesson with thin hair. It was thin hair that I had a problem with because she was the worst out of all of them. She was like a genuine monster. Like, she was awful. I was in lesson and the teacher called me to come to the front of the class to go collect a paper. She was sitting on the outside aisle and her bag was in the middle of the aisle. And as I was walking to the teacher, she says to me, "Don't step on my bag." Why would I step on your bag? Why would I step on your bag? Do you need to actually tell me not to step on your bag? And even if I stepped on your bag, sorry, it's in the middle of the aisle. What are we talking about? Move your bag and it won't get stepped on. You know what I did? I stepped over her bag like this. I like dramatically stepped over her bag and I looked at her like, "Is your bag okay?" That girl, she was a weirdo from the beginning. As soon as I got to that school, she was just a weirdo. Most of the fights that they got into was because of boys. They were those kind of girls. Those girls just had so much hate and like animosity. It was always just someone they had to pick on. After the whole N-word situation, everyone in the school knew about it because the argument happened in the canteen at lunchtime. So everyone was there watching me, my little self, argue with these 2 girls. At that point, everyone in the school knew that we didn't like each other. My group stopped liking them because of it, because they were racist. Like, what are we talking about? Fast forward now, I'm into like year 10 maybe. It was another occurrence where I saw them picking on a girl who obviously was not going to stand up for herself. And of course, it was about a boy again. These girls, they're sick. But I was there, I saw them picking on her, didn't like it, got involved. I said to the girl that they were picking on her, ignore them. You know when I said to her, ignore them? They started screaming at me. They were like, "Mind your business, why are you getting involved? Rah, 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 I'm gonna..." Damn, girl, relax. I just looked at them like, y'all crazy. Every time I ruined their plan to be a bully. Every time. So they even hated me even more because of that. And it's so weird as well because the fourth girl that was in the group, me and her never actually had a problem with each other. We actually kind of got along. When our groups got together, that's when it was messy. Eyebrows, I didn't really have a problem with eyebrows because like on her own, she was actually a nice person. It's just that when she got with her group, she turned into an evil little witch. It really got on my nerves how the teachers never ever did anything about them. Like people would report them and say that they're bullying them. The teachers would never do anything because obviously, you know why.
All right, y'all, story time about how I got suspended my first week in high school. All right, so the high school I went to, a lot of the people from my middle school had ended up going to the same one. It was one girl in particular who went through some stuff our 8th grade year, and she ended up having some mental problems. Now, I wasn't friends with this girl or anything like that, so I can't really speak too much on her mental problems, but she made what she was going through very public our 8th grade year. So, long story short, because I only hung around the people that I actually knew from middle school, this girl was within the group of people I was around the first couple of days in high school. Now, like I said, I wasn't friends or anything with this girl, so we didn't really speak much. But off the few interactions I had with this girl from middle school, I realized that I didn't really care too much for her. So fast forward to the first week in high school. I want to say this was on a Wednesday. Lunchtime comes around, and like I said, she was within the group of people that I hung around. So we end up sitting at the same lunch table. I get to the table, and she's telling this story about how some girl in one of her classes asked to borrow her phone and looked at her and her best friend messages. Now, as she's telling this story, this girl is milking it. She got everybody at the lunch table attention. Short intermission, y'all use code Isabella for money off all Eben, New York products. So this girl is like, my deepest, darkest secrets was in those messages. Nobody understands what I go through. Nobody understands the things that I tell my best friend. I'm so violated. I didn't even know the girl who did it. So I hear that last part, and I'm like, all right, bet. Now, looking back, I shouldn't have did this. And I really don't know why I did it. But I look at the girl, and I go, the girl that you're talking about in your story? Yeah, that was me. I'm the girl who looked through you and your best friend messages. And I just start laughing at her. And now she heated. She done stood up from her seat and she going crazy. All right, y'all, part 2. So after I tell the girl, like, I was the one who looked through your messages, she start going crazy. She stands up from her seat, start yelling, just going off. So why would you do that? Blase, blase, you know, stuff like that. So as she's doing all of this, I'm just watching her with a grin on my face. And eventually it gets to the point where, like, I can tell this is really upsetting the girl. So I end up being like, girl, relax, it was a joke. It wasn't even me. Calm down. And I think I turned around or I left the table. Either way, my back ended up towards her. So I'm going on about my business. All of a sudden, I just hear, whoa, come from behind me. And it wasn't like 2-3 people. It was damn near the whole cafeteria. So I hear that, and before I can even react, I feel girly hit me. Now, the lunch table I was sitting at, it wasn't nothing on it but one algebra book. Now, I can't really remember what happened exactly, because like I said, this was freshman year in high school. But I either threw the book at her or I hit her with the book. And at that point, we get the attention of the security guards. So the security and the vice principal run over to us and separate us. She went with the vice principal to the back of the cafeteria. I was escorted out. As I'm getting escorted out of the cafeteria, I catch the attention of my friend D, and she rushed over to me. At this point, I'm heated. I feel like I didn't really get to defend myself, a whole bunch of other stuff. So she just trying to calm me down. All the while, I'm not listening. The only thing I'm thinking about is this girl. All right, y'all, part 3. All right, so like I said, I was escorted out of the cafeteria. And when I was escorted out, I caught the attention of my friend D. So D rushed over to me. She basically like, what's wrong? Why you so upset? What happened? So while she's trying to calm me down, I'm really not listening to anything that she's saying for real. Only thing I'm thinking about is getting back into that cafeteria. So in the midst of her talking, I gotta go get my stuff to her and the security guard I was with. So they like, okay, we gonna take you back to go get your stuff. Now, my plan was to just go in there and get to this girl because she just hit me for no reason for real. But I think D knew what I was up to because she held my arm and walked alongside me the whole time I was in the cafeteria collecting my things so she can try to stop me from fighting the girl. Regardless, though, once I got into the cafeteria and I started looking around for her, she was nowhere to be found. So at this point, I'm like, bet, I'm just gonna wait till tomorrow, and when I see her, I'm gonna get her. Now, back in freshman year, I used to post every thought that came into my mind on social media. So I hop on Instagram and I make a story post. It was something like, Tim's in the hoodie to school tomorrow. Y'all know what's going on. Now, like I said before, me and the girl basically hung around and knew the same people. So when people saw my story, they screenshotted it and sent it to her. And not only did they send it to her, They sent it to the assistant principal of our school. So the next day I come to school, I go to my homeroom and I sit down for maybe 10 minutes at most. Then I get called to the office over the intercom thing. So I get there, I sit down, and the first thing the assistant principal does, she turns her phone around and shows me my post. Then she reads it out loud to me. And then she asks me, what exactly did you mean when you made this post? And now, I'm not the type of person that's gonna throw rocks and hide my hand. I made the post because I wanted to fight the girl. And it really wasn't no reason to lie because I made the post. I meant what I said. I'm gonna stand on what I said no matter the situation. So I go. I had plans of coming in here and fighting that girl. And that right there is where I messed up. As soon as I said that, she go, well, we're going to have to call your parents because we have a zero tolerance policy. So I go, how do you have a zero tolerance policy when you let that girl hit me in the cafeteria yesterday and didn't do nothing about it? All right, y'all, part 4. So after I was like, how y'all got a zero tolerance policy when y'all just let shorty hit me in the cafeteria? The assistant principal put your people number in his phone and get them up here. Now, during this time, I was staying with my dad. So that's the parent I called. And on top of that, I just knew my mom was spaz if I told her. So I called my dad, explained the situation, and he told me he on his way up to the school. Now on the phone, he sounded cool. Wasn't nothing wrong. He just said he was on his way. So I'm thinking I'm in the clear. About 10 minutes goes by, and it's a knock on the assistant principal door. It's my dad. He come in, sit down, and the assistant principal starts to explain the situation. So after she explains it to him, he turns to me, and he like, what did you mean in this post? And again, I say, I had plans of coming into school and beating that girl up. And then my dad like, oh, man, why would you say that? So after I said it the second time, the assistant principal was basically like, you gotta go home. And right after she said that, in walks my mother. And let me tell y'all, she walked in on 100. She yelling about how she sent me to school to learn and not to be on this type of time. And in the midst of her yelling, my dad hands her my phone. He was like, she ain't gonna need it, so here, you take it. Would y'all believe this lady took my phone, threw it on the floor, and it smashed into pieces?
Get ready with me while I tell you how I got a detention for being pretty. This happened about a month ago with my homeroom teacher, and it was traumatizing. So the school day started out normal, and everything was fine. I was going to all my classes, and everything seemed to be going okay. So our class comes up, and we all have to go. Everything's going fine, and when we come back to the classroom, I see a little slip on my desk. The slip said it was from my teacher, obviously, and the reason for the detention was for wearing a full face of makeup. So I'm just kind of sitting there like, what the frick? I'm not, like, I literally don't wear anything to school because it's not allowed, obviously. It's in the rules, you can't wear makeup. And all I wear is, like, moisturizer and whatever, so my skin looks glowy. My mom will always stop me in the morning and will be like, are you wearing makeup? Because my skin is so glowy. Like, I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but that's just how it is. So it's lunchtime, and I can't stop thinking about it. And obviously, I'm not going to take the detention. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. I'm someone who hates confrontation, so I didn't really want to go and talk to her about it, but I talked to my friends and they're like, yeah, she can't do that. You need to go tell her. So we have this quiet period called dear, drop everything and read. So where everyone else is deering and the room is quiet, so my friends are telling me like, go talk to her now, like it's the perfect time because no one's asking her questions, she's not doing anything. So I go up to my teacher's desk and I'm asking her like, what's with the detention because I'm not wearing any makeup. So she starts yapping. She's like, yes you are, like I can clearly see it. And I'm like, I didn't put anything on today, so I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, okay, you're gonna have to take this up with Miss Gracie, that's what we'll call her. She's the school counselor. So I'm like, oh shit, okay, like where is she? And she's like, I'll call her. By the way, I'm using the new Too Faced contour stick. This shit is so creamy. And it smells like motherfucking chocolate. The fuck? So sooner or later, she calls Miss whatever we said her name was, and she comes to the classroom. So Miss Gracie comes and she pulls me out of the classroom. So I explained to Miss Gracie everything that happened and how she accused me of wearing makeup and how she gave me the detention even though I literally had nothing on. She basically inspects my face and eventually she's like, can I touch you? And so I'm like, okay. And so she gets her finger and she's like feeling on my face and she's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're good, like I don't see anything. So she sends me back to class and I go back and sit down and start reading a book. She pulls my homeroom teacher out and they go have a chat. My homeroom teacher comes back into the classroom and she looks like really sad. So obviously I'm assuming that Miss Gracie yelled at her. I felt really bad because I'm a very like empathetic person, but all my friends were like, fuck her, bro, nobody cares. So it's time for math and everyone's starting to pack up to leave. So I'm about to go leave for math and I'm running late. My friends have already left, so I'm trying to catch up to them. I'm about to go and leave when my homeroom teacher looks at me and she's like, girl. So I'm like, you want me to come over there? And she's like, yes. So I go over to her desk and she says something, like mumbles it, and then I'm like, what? And then she repeats it and she's like, I'm sorry. And so I'm shocked because I was not expecting her to apologize at all. So after she says sorry, she goes on this whole long thing. She's like, I'm sorry, like I couldn't realize that you're like such a beautiful girl, that you don't even need makeup, you're so naturally beautiful. And like the class is just staring at our, like, while we're talking, and it's just so awkward. So I'm just like, thank you, like, oh my gosh. And she goes on to say like I'm really not that good at makeup, clearly, because I can't, you know, tell when someone's wearing it and when they're not. So yeah, and then I leave and that's basically it. It was definitely a traumatizing event for me, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Here's the finished look though. It's kind of a trust the process kind of thing, but I love you Pookies so much, and have a great day.
So I'm going to talk about when my classmates started to notice that my teacher had a thing for me. Like this one incident, everyone was like, what the fuck? So I went to a continuation high school. They're also known as alternative high school. So it's kind of where like the bad kids go. I went on my own terms. I didn't do anything wrong. I had very, very severe anxiety. I ended up getting sent away to treatment. When I got out of treatment, I got drug tested for smoking weed. Really fucking stupid. And you know, when you go to a continuation high school, you're used to being around kids that do drugs and have drug addictions and drug problems. So I had hit my 6 months sober of not smoking weed. Like literally the stupidest thing ever. We're in class and he asked my class, the entire fucking class, he's like, oh yeah, Miranda's been sober for 6 months. Raise your hand if you think she deserves a cake. And of course my friends are raising their hand because, you know, they're my friends. They're like, oh yeah, Miranda should get a cake. And there's other people in the class, you know, they have problems and they're not raising their hand because it's like, she's sober from weed. Like, congratulations, it's not a big fucking deal. And then he did the unthinkable. There were a lot of kids in the class that did not raise their hand. I shit you not, he comes out with a little personal cake. It'd be one thing if he like got a cake and he gave everyone in the class a slice of cake. No, he gave me my own little personal cake in class. So like he could have waited after class, after school or something like that if he really felt the urge to do that, if he was really proud of me. But it was the fact that he did it in class in front of everyone and nobody else got the cake. Like it was one of those little ones. And it just blew my mind. There's a whole bunch of other weird things with this teacher. When I graduated from high school, he asked me out to go eat lunch with him. I said no. Also, when I graduated, like I took a selfie with him and I also had one of my other friends in the picture. And when I graduated, like I obviously wasn't going to school there anymore. I still had friends that were going to school there. And they were like, yo, you should see his Google Classroom picture. And they sent me a picture, and his Google Classroom picture, I shit you not, was of him and me. Like there was another person in the picture, it was like him in the middle, and then we're on either side of him. He like cropped the other person out, so his Google Classroom picture was literally just him and me. Like fucking the weirdest shit ever. And like he follows me on Instagram and watches my shit, so hopefully he doesn't follow me on TikTok.
High school was 4 years of hell. I just graduated, so get ready with me while I talk about why my high school experience was just terrible, and so you don't make the same mistakes I did. A little bit of backstory: I moved here when I was in 8th grade in 2021, in the middle of COVID. I finished 8th grade online and didn't really get the chance to like meet any friends. But over the summer, I met these two girls that lived in my neighborhood. Let's call them Daisy and Sunny. Daisy and Sunny were actually so sweet, and I was so excited to have met them. I was especially excited because they were going to be in my grade and go into the same high school as me in the fall. They had known each other for forever. They had been best friends since birth. Through them actually was the first time I ended up meeting this other girl. We're gonna call her Blair. Now Blair was like actually drop dead gorgeous. When I very first met her, I noticed she would be like whispering to her other friends about me, but I didn't think much of it because like I'm a new girl and like I wasn't gonna say anything about it, and she seemed sweet when she would talk to me. I just told myself like I'm overthinking because like I always overthink, right? Wrong. So when the school year started, I was sitting with Blair, Daisy, Sunny. Like we all had a class together, and then there was two other girls that also sat with us. Now, mind you, I'm the only one that looks like me in this table at this group. So, like, it was like, I just felt like kind of like I didn't belong, but I was just happy to have, like, had friends. Now, one day, one of the girls had invited their guy friends to come and sit with us. Out of nowhere, Blair asked him, "Who do you think is the least attractive girl at this table?" And he looks dead at me and goes, "I don't like black girls, so you." And, like, that's fine. That is completely fine. Like, whatever. But what bugged me is that Blair had known, like, he makes it very known he's not interested in black girls. Like, she had heard him say that before. So for her to ask him that, like, in front of all of us, knowing that was going to be his answer, like, felt like targeted towards me. So I was just like, whoa, okay, this is not the space for me. When I moved here, this was the first time I'd gone to a school that was, like, mostly diverse and not mostly white. Like, where I grew up in Texas and Florida and Ohio, the schools were all predominantly white, the areas were all predominantly white. So when I was having this interaction in a predominantly black school, I was like, this is not gonna be where I am. This does not feel like where I belong. And then what gagged me is when I didn't reply to him or respond to him, the girls at the table were like, "Did you hear what he said?" Like, I heard it. Trust. I just have nothing to say back to it. That will be just the beginning of my issues with Blair. Like, that is just the very first thing that happened. That was only the very first month, so come back for part 2 where I tell you how I became the school whore and lost all my friends. High school was 4 years of hell. Get ready with me for part 2 of why my high school experience was terrible. I have to go in chronological order, so I'm going to pick up right where I left off. After I stopped sitting next to Blair and all those folks, I started getting closer with this girl that we're going to call Luna. Luna actually lived like 2 houses down from me. Her and I got real close real fast. Me and Luna started to become really close with these other 2 girls that I had known in one of my classes. We're going to call them Sky and Vanessa. We all became like there was 4 of us, so we all meshed really well. I had so much fun with them at the beginning. I started to tell them how I had a crush on this guy we're gonna call Mason. So Mason and Vanessa were actually friends. They had known each other from like middle school and they were pretty close. So she was kind of helping us like get together, and she was supposed to be like on my side, like encouraging him to like, you know. He DM'd me on Instagram and we just like started talking, and I had like such a big crush on him. I would always obviously tell my girls like I had such a big crush on him and everything was going well and every good thing he was saying to me and all of that stuff. But little did I know that Mason was talking mad shit to Vanessa about me, like all behind my back. He was just saying things like I was like too whitewashed for him and all that stuff, when in front of my face he was acting like I was the freaking love of his life. And the issue here is that Vanessa never told me any of this. She never told me he was talking shit to her. She let me sit there just going on about how we were so in love and I was gonna like be the love of his life, whole time knowing like he wanted nothing to do with me. And I found out my best friend Luna was moving away. So I decided to throw her like a little going away party at my house, since we were like right there and I had a nice like backyard. I obviously invited all the girls and all of our good friends, and like even some of the guys that the other girls were talking to. I didn't invite Mason. For a while everything was great. Luna had moved away, but we were all still keeping in touch. I was still close with the other 2 girls. But after the first, I would say like month after Luna moved away, Vanessa started acting like really weird. I started to notice how she would call herself like a girl's girl, but go out of her way to like embarrass other girls in front of dudes. Not just me, other girls too. When we got in front of guys, she would say things like, "Oh, you need to put on some perfume," or "You need to fix your hair," or like, "You look a mess," like, and she would only do it like in front of guys, like not being a genuine girl's girl, like, "Girl, you got something on your shirt, like, let me help you, let me get it off." No, it was like blatantly to embarrass us in front of other guys. I didn't say anything at that moment directly to her. I just kind of started distancing myself, and I guess she didn't like that, and we got into an argument like really quickly after I started distancing myself. And I'm such like the non-confrontational type. I couldn't even like really defend myself. I went home on the bus like just in tears. Like when I'm upset, I just cry. So I was crying on the bus ride home. So Vanessa and the other girl were like closer because they had been best friends before. So when I stopped talking to Vanessa, I stopped talking to her too, or she stopped talking to me. They both blocked me on everything. I found out after all this that her and Mason would like continuously talk shit about me. Like it was both of them. I found out she had told Mason that I'm like a whore, which was just like the first step in how I became the school whore. So I ended the school year with no friends, no boys, nobody to talk to. I was all by myself. Vanessa was a lot more popular than I was, so she was going around and telling everybody like not to be friends with me and stuff. Sophomore year, things got way worse, and that's how I really became the school whore, but this was just important context to know before I really get deep into it.